Every single day, across the globe, over 2 billion people go to their refrigerators, pull out a plastic container filled with yesterday's dinner, and place it in the microwave. They press a button, listen to the hum of the machine, and wait for the familiar beep. When the food comes out steaming hot, they sit down to eat with absolute confidence. We have all been raised with a very simple, seemingly logical assumption. If food is heated thoroughly enough, if it is piping hot, it is automatically safe to eat. The heat kills the germs, right? But that assumption is a dangerous illusion, and it is costing lives. It is one of the most persistent and misunderstood myths in modern nutrition. Today, we are going to look at what I call the kitchen paradox. You are likely making a massive effort to eat healthy, home-cooked meals. You are buying the right ingredients, but the way you store and reheat those meals could be introducing silent, highly reactive, carcinogenic compounds directly into your body. Here is a statistic that should command your attention. According to comprehensive data published in CA, a cancer journal for clinicians, which is one of the most respected medical journals in the world, poor dietary habits are the second leading modifiable risk factor for cancer worldwide. They rank just behind tobacco use. Yet, while everyone talks about the dangers of smoking or industrial pollution, almost no one is talking about what happens to your food at the microscopic molecular level when it is reheated for a second time. The chemical reactions that take place inside your microwave or on your stovetop during reheating are completely silent. You cannot see them happening. You cannot smell them. They do not alter the taste of your food in a way that warns you. But they are happening inside the structural fibers of your meal, and eventually, they are happening inside your cells. This is not a video about a minor inconvenience. We are not discussing a temporary upset stomach or a standard case of food poisoning that passes in 24 hours. What we are discussing today is the slow, cumulative, silent buildup of carcinogenic compounds inside your tissues over months, years, and decades. Cancer rarely develops overnight. It is a gradual, step-by-step progression. The building blocks of that process, free radicals, advanced glycation end products, nitrosamines, and lipid peroxidation byproducts, often enter your body right through your own kitchen. Before we look at the specific foods, you need to understand the underlying mechanisms. When food is cooked for the first time, heat produces normal, manageable chemical reactions. Proteins unfold, starches soften, and fats melt. But when you take food that has already been cooked, cool it down in a refrigerator, and then hit it with high heat a second time, an entirely different and chaotic set of chemical reactions begins. The first mechanism is oxidation. When fats and proteins sit in your fridge, they are exposed to oxygen. They become chemically unstable. When you apply heat again, these damaged molecules break down into compounds like lipid peroxides, which are documented agents capable of damaging your cellular DNA. The second mechanism is the malfunction of the Maillard reaction. This is the process that gives cooked food its nice brown color. But reheating pushes this reaction too far, creating advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds trigger chronic, systemic inflammation in your body, the exact type of inflammation that serves as the biological breeding ground for chronic disease. The World Health Organization has classified several of the compounds formed during reheating as Group 1 or Group 2A carcinogens. Group 1 means there is absolute, conclusive evidence that it causes cancer in humans. Group 2A means it is highly probable. These are not just theories, they are documented facts. And here is the most concerning part. The people at the greatest risk are not those eating fast food every day. The people at the highest risk are health-conscious individuals who are meal prepping lean proteins, cooking fresh vegetables, and boiling eggs. Let us examine the 4 specific foods sitting in your fridge right now that you must stop reheating immediately. Rice is the most widely consumed staple food on planet Earth. More than 3 billion people rely on rice for their daily energy. Because it is so common, billions of people reheat leftover rice every single day without giving it a second thought. It is a deeply ingrained habit. However, there is a serious, scientifically verified problem with this practice. The issue begins not in the microwave, but in the time between the first cooking and the second heating. Rice contains a naturally occurring bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This is a fascinating and stubborn organism. Unlike most bacteria that die when you boil water, Bacillus cereus produces heat-resistant spores. It survives the initial cooking process completely intact. When you take a warm pot of cooked rice and leave it on the counter to cool, or even if you put a massive, deep container of warm rice straight into the fridge, the center of that rice stays warm for hours. It becomes the perfect humid incubator. The bacteria multiply rapidly. As they multiply, they produce highly toxic byproducts. When you put that rice in the microwave the next day, the heat might kill the living bacteria, but it does absolutely nothing to the heat-stable toxins they have already secreted. Those toxins survive the heat, travel through your stomach acid, and enter your digestive system. Laboratory studies have shown that the specific toxin produced by this bacterium, called cereulide, can directly damage the mitochondria inside human cells. Your mitochondria are the powerhouses of your cells. Mitochondrial dysfunction is recognized by cellular biologists as one of the earliest events that can contribute to malignant cellular transformation, the very first step on the road to cancer. Furthermore, repeated heating of starchy foods like rice dramatically increases the formation of acrylamide. This is a chemical compound produced when natural sugars react with specific amino acids under high heat. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies acrylamide as a Group 2A carcinogen. The safety protocol. How do we fix this? The answer is strict temperature management. Whenever possible, cook only the exact amount of rice you intend to eat. If you must store it, you have to cool it rapidly. Do not leave it in a deep pot. Spread the leftover rice out on a wide, flat baking tray immediately after cooking so the heat escapes quickly. Get it into the refrigerator within 1 hour of cooking. Consume it cold, or if you must heat it, do so within 24 hours. And the golden rule: never, ever reheat rice more than once. Our second food is the absolute cornerstone of modern healthy eating: chicken. Doctors, dietitians, bodybuilders, and health-conscious grandparents all recommend it. We bake it, we grill it, and then we put the leftovers in Tupperware containers for the week. When Tuesday rolls around, we put that chicken in the microwave. This is exactly where the molecular damage begins. Chicken is a dense, lean animal protein. When the muscle tissue of an animal is exposed to high temperatures for a second time, it undergoes a severe process known as protein oxidation. One of the direct consequences of reheating poultry is the creation of compounds called heterocyclic amines, or HCAs. HCAs are not a controversial topic in the scientific community. They are among the most extensively researched dietary carcinogens in existence. When you eat reheated chicken containing HCAs, your body tries to process them. Your liver enzymes metabolize these compounds, but in doing so, they inadvertently turn them into highly reactive molecules. These reactive molecules travel through your bloodstream and can bind directly to your DNA. Imagine your DNA as a complex, perfectly written instruction manual for your health. HCAs act like spilled ink on those pages. They create genetic mutations. If those mutations affect critical tumor suppressor genes, your body loses its ability to fight off abnormal cells. A landmark, peer-reviewed study published in the journal Carcinogenesis found that individuals who frequently consumed reheated or well-done poultry had a statistically significant increase in the risk of colorectal cancer. Another comprehensive analysis associated the frequent consumption of reheated chicken with an increased risk of pancreatic cancer, which is notoriously difficult to treat. The safety protocol. You do not have to stop eating chicken, but you must change how you handle the leftovers. The absolute best practice is to eat leftover chicken cold. Shred it into a fresh green salad, slice it for a cold wrap, or mix it into a cold pasta salad. If you absolutely insist on eating it warm, the microwave is your worst enemy because it creates violent, uneven hotspots that accelerate oxidation. Instead, use gentle, indirect heat. Place the chicken in a low-temperature oven covered with foil, or warm it slowly in a skillet with a little water or broth to prevent it from drying out and oxidizing further. This third food is the one that shocks health enthusiasts the most. Spinach, Swiss chard, celery, and beet greens are universally celebrated. They are packed with iron, magnesium, and antioxidants. Every cardiologist and wellness expert tells you to eat more leafy greens. And they are absolutely right when you eat them fresh. The danger completely rewrites itself the moment you store cooked spinach in the refrigerator and plan to reheat it later. Leafy greens draw their nutrients from the soil, and as a result, they are naturally incredibly rich in dietary nitrates. In their fresh, natural form, these nitrates are wonderful for you. They help widen your blood vessels and regulate your blood pressure. However, the moment cooked spinach goes into your refrigerator, a biological clock starts ticking. The naturally occurring bacteria present on the leaves begin a process of chemical conversion. They slowly convert those healthy nitrates into nitrites. This is the exact same chemical process used to cure hot dogs and processed meats, the very process that led the World Health Organization to classify processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen. When you take that refrigerated spinach, which is now loaded with nitrites, and put it in the microwave or on the stove, the heat forces a secondary reaction. The nitrites react with amino acids to form nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are among the most potent, aggressive dietary carcinogens known to modern science. Animal studies have repeatedly shown that they can induce cellular damage at remarkably low doses. Epidemiological research consistently links high nitrosamine exposure to an increased risk of gastric, esophageal, and colorectal cancers. The European Food Safety Authority has actually issued formal guidance specifically warning the public about the severe potential risks of reheating nitrate-rich vegetables. It is a devastating irony. By trying to be healthy and eating leftover spinach, you are accidentally creating a highly toxic compound. The safety protocol. The rule for spinach and leafy greens is absolute. Cook only what you can eat in that exact sitting. If you have leftover cooked spinach, do not save it for tomorrow's dinner. If you must keep it, put it in an airtight container, store it in the fridge, and consume it within 6 hours, and you must eat it cold. Never apply heat to cooked leafy greens a second time. I saved this one for last because it is something that almost every physician recommends eating, yet the risks associated with reheating it are completely ignored by the general public. Eggs are an absolute nutritional powerhouse. They are a perfectly packaged source of all 9 essential amino acids, lutein for your eyes and choline for your brain. But reheating eggs, particularly scrambled eggs, omelets, or boiled eggs, creates a silent chemical disaster. Eggs contain a high percentage of fat and cholesterol, primarily concentrated in the yellow yolk. When an egg is cooked on the stove the first time, the fats undergo an initial, normal stage of oxidation. Your body can handle this. However, when you put a cooked egg into the fridge, the cholesterol becomes chemically fragile. When you pull it out the next morning and blast it in the microwave, those already stressed fats undergo secondary lipid oxidation at a terrifyingly rapid rate. This extreme heat forces the cholesterol to mutate into compounds called oxysterols. Oxysterols are oxidized derivatives of cholesterol, and the scientific literature on them is alarming. A comprehensive review published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology concluded that oxysterols are highly pro-inflammatory. They promote plaque buildup in your arteries, and most dangerously, they are genotoxic. Genotoxic means they are directly toxic to your genetic material. They literally cause DNA strand breaks. Furthermore, the microwave forces the proteins in the egg to undergo abnormal cross-linking. This denatures the protein to a point where your digestive system struggles to break it down, leading to oxidative stress directly within the lining of your intestinal tract. The safety protocol. Eggs take roughly 3 minutes to cook. There is simply no valid reason to cook them in advance and reheat them. Cook your eggs fresh every single morning. If you like to meal prep hard-boiled eggs for the week, that is perfectly fine, but you must store them with the shell still on to protect them from oxygen, and you must eat them cold straight from the fridge. Never put an egg dish in the microwave. When I first reviewed the vast amount of scientific literature on oxysterols, nitrosamines, and heterocyclic amines, I was not just concerned, I was frustrated. This information is published in peer-reviewed journals. It is known to food scientists worldwide. Yet it never reaches the average person's kitchen. We have millions of people meticulously tracking their calories, completely unaware that the chemical structure of their food has become harmful. You do not have to be afraid of your kitchen, but you must implement these non-negotiable rules for longevity. First, invest in a digital food thermometer. If you absolutely must reheat a soup or a stew, heat it gently. You never need to push food past 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. Boiling leftover food destroys its integrity. Second, utilize your oven instead of the microwave. Microwaves work by violently vibrating water molecules, creating intense, localized pockets of extreme heat. These hidden hot spots are exactly what trigger the oxidation of fats and the creation of carcinogens. A low-temperature oven heats food evenly and gently. Third, plan your portions. The most effective way to avoid the dangers of reheated food is to not have leftovers in the first place. Cooking fresh meals with exact portion sizes is the ultimate preventative medicine. And finally, adopt the absolute rule of the kitchen: one cooking, one reheating maximum. If you heat something up on Tuesday and do not finish it, throw it away. Do not put it back in the fridge for Wednesday. Everything we have discussed today is intended to empower you through education. Food science is constantly evolving, and I encourage you to use this information to have an informed discussion with your healthcare provider or a registered dietitian. You deserve to have the same evidence-based data that researchers have, so you can protect your health and the health of your family.